There is a quote by Rumi: raise your words, not voice. It is the rain that grows flowers, not thunder. And if you observe carefully, what is happening all around is that we are constantly thundering. We are constantly shouting. And we are shouting for self-attention, for validation, which is quite obvious when we see social media and to what extent we go to get noticed. But deep down, there is a sense of lack, a sense of unworthiness, and the feeling that we are unloved. When one is not in touch with their being, with their true love, with their true self, then everything on the outside becomes meaningless. Because nothing ever is there in the external world that can fill up the lack or the void that we carry within. The more we try to cover it up, the deeper that pit of darkness becomes. And we think that by all our control and manipulations, and by this constant attention seeking, validation, that somehow we will be able to cover this void or successfully hide this void from the world. But exactly the opposite happens. That dark pit, it becomes so obvious that people are able to see through and through us. While we think that we are doing it successfully, that we are hiding ourselves and we put up a facade, we put up an act. We are continuously acting in front of the other people. We are never ever our genuine selves. So every smile that we put is fake, is forced. And people are smart. People can see through and through what is happening. While we may think that we have fooled others, that is what the ego's arrogance is. It thinks that it can easily fool others by putting up appearances, by putting up fake personas, facades. But everything is obvious, everything is seen. Each and every pore of your skin reveals what is going on within. The way you speak, the things that you show on your social media. Now this is a trend that people generally show good things on social media. So when they are going on vacations, they will post pictures. I see so many youngsters. Recently, I went to a small hilly area. It's quite close to my hometown, Chandigarh. And I saw this young couple. They were just clicking each other's pictures. And I just noticed them, they were holding this selfie stick and they were clicking a picture. Then I went inside the dining room and we all had dinner, me and my family and my friends. When we came out, they were still clicking pictures. And I think 1 hour must have passed by then. Now you see, what we are doing here is we are just trying to capture these moments and show it to the other person. Because somehow that strengthens our illusion, the illusory appearance that we have built. It strengthens that image. So we are trying to show that we are absolutely okay, that we are happy. And so, we are doing all this stuff. We are clicking pictures with our friends, families, and we are putting everything on the social media. Each and everything we do, each and every food item we eat, each and every drink we take. So we are truly not there in the moment, enjoying the bliss of this presence. This presence that is showing such beauty, such wonderful mountains, such a scenery, such a pleasant atmosphere. We're just missing all of that fun. All we are doing is we just trying to capture an image, which is a reduction, which is a great reduction, and somehow we are associating ourselves with that image to increase our own self-worth. But deep down there is a lack, and we recognize this, that we do feel that we have missed out on that important moment where we had the opportunity to sit quietly and observe the beauty of nature, to become one with that nature. We are thundering all the time. And the problem is we think that, we give too much importance to ourselves. The world revolves around me and my story. Therefore, I think that by showing good aspects of myself to others, by showing people how successful I am, how religious I am, how spiritual I am, how great social activist I am, I'm putting up all these images and I'm just strengthening them. So I'm projecting myself everywhere. I'm everywhere. I just want to show that yes, I am there, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and somehow struggling day and day to improve my own self-worth, to cover this lack that I have within. It is a constant chase. Even when I'm tired, I continuously operate in that unconscious fashion where I keep chasing happiness or illusions in the name of happiness. So Rumi says that let your words be louder. Let your words have weight, so that when you speak, people listen. When the words come out from ego, there is always the ego on the other end that is listening. So no communication can take place between one ego and the other, because both of them are like, they are like, one hand they have a shield and the other hand they have a sword. So they are not communicating, they are just fighting, trying to put the other down, trying to best the other or pull down the other. That is what ego does. So ego is not really interested in learning, absorbing, integrating something new. Ego wants to conform to its old beliefs, the old patterns, the old ideas that it's bound to. The ego only seeks to perpetuate its own self, the illusory self. But what happens what happens when the words are not thunderous? When the words come out from the place of heart or from the place of love. When the idea is not to prove the other person wrong, but to simply share with them something that might be helpful to them in their lives, then it is entirely a different thing, because then it is not the ego speaking and not the ego listening. That communication is from one heart to another heart. And that only brings about true integration. Jiddu Krishnamurti said that if you can speak to the unconscious, because conscious is very limited, and conscious is highly conditioned, highly biased. So it is very difficult for conscious to come to terms with certain aspects of life. The unconscious, on the other hand, is raw. The unconscious does not belong to an individual. It is simply there. So when the message reaches to the depths of the unconscious, then a transformation takes place. Then a possibility for love happens. That's why I say that what a person says does not matter. A true sage is one whose words are matched by his actions. If there is a contradiction between the words and the actions, then that cannot be a sage. And sage does not mean that the person has to be dressed in robes or give sermons or lectures. Sage is a person of understanding. The words of a sage comes from the heart. Because the sage knows that he and beloved, or she and beloved, are the one and the same. So there is an understanding that everything is coming from the source. That there is only the source and nothing else. Everything else is an illusion. And everything happens because of the will of source. Therefore, the sage lives with the sense of non-doership. It is a state of total surrender. It is a state of complete knowing that there is no individual doer of any action. While things happen in the world, consequences also happen in the world, but there is no individual doer. That was a favorite quote of Ramesh Balsekar. He would repeat that quote every time in his satsang. Events happen, deeds are done, consequences happen, but there is no individual doer thereof. And once this simple understanding is understood, then the communication that comes out from the apparent person is from the heart. The heart is the source. Therefore, the sage never takes pride in his or her work or what is being said, because the sage realizes that it is not the individual that is speaking or writing or communicating. It is only the impersonal awareness of I am in which everything is an apparent happening. That awareness, that presence, is all there is. If we are mindful of our communication, and if the awareness is high, we get to know that most of the time we are trying to assert ourselves too much. Because we want people to somehow accept us, accept our views. That is how the ego strengthens itself. Because the whole idea of ego is to be right. It does not care what is being said, who is being hurt. The ego always wants to be right. It always clings to what it thinks is right, and it always avoids what it thinks is wrong. And Rumi said that beyond the right and wrong, beyond these ideas of right and wrong, is the reality, which is completely unbiased, impartial. So, when you speak, allow your heart to express. Give up your sense of personal doership. Now, I know it is not in the individual's control to do that, but still, every master would say, although I am not a master, but masters would often say that give up that sense of personal doership. While they know that it will happen only when it is precisely meant to happen, they would still say that. Ramana Maharishi would say, Sommairu, drop and be. And in your being, you will discover the truth. There is no higher reality than the reality of being. Being is the witness of all phenomenality. And in that truth, everything is seen the way it is. In that light, everything is seen precisely for what it is, for the way it is. And that brings about a change. That brings about the transformation that we so desire.